2022. We have determined that we have a quorum of the 7 commissioners with 4 of us here, so thank you for those attending. Approval of minutes. I have seen the minutes of the February 7th meeting. Jonah looked at that. Are there any corrections, additions for any commissioners on the minutes of February 7th? If so, do I need a motion for approval on that one to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We only have one item on agenda. I guess before I start, I would like to ask a question, if you don't mind, and that is, is the owner and the agent present here tonight for this discussion? Thank you. Thank you, sir. I saw you come in. I just thank you. Okay. The new business 2022 04 residents, 1830 South Broadway. Conduct a public hearing for case number 2022 04 residents, 1830 South Broadway. The applicant is requesting a rezoning of the property located at 1830 South Broadway from R1-6 High Density Single Family Residential District to RMX, which is Residential Mixed Use District. Okay. That'll be the discussion that we have. Staff report, please.
Okay, City Planner Jackie Porter is going to handle this.
Hi. All right, as it was mentioned, this is a request for a rezoning from R16 High Density Single Family Residential to RMX, which is Residential Mixed Use District. The subject property is roughly 9.34 acres in size and is occupied by a single building, as you can see on the map. The existing structure is occupied by the Council on Aging. A special use permit for a resting home, nursing home area was approved back in 1985. The Council of Aging operates as a legal non-conforming use of a business building, community center for senior citizens, programs, and events. The Council of Aging is anticipated to vacate the building and relocate to the former Cushing Memorial Hospital at the end of 2022. The rezoning is being requested by the property owner to allow the zoning to accurately represent the intended use of the property. And the current owner intends to renovate the building to allow for office space and multifamily residential use. The owner has not indicated any specific plans in terms of mixed uses, number of residential units, or square footage of office space. The owner has indicated that he has no plans at this time to expand the existing structure or construct additional buildings on the property. Just for your information, staff has received 4 calls against and 1 call in favor of the request. And then to the good stuff. Conditions of determination. The character of the neighborhood. The subject property is the site of the Council of Aging facility. The surrounding adjacent properties are single-family homes, and then catty corner on this section is a church. And the subject property's access is there on Garland, there on the southwest corner of that. The pavement condition index map, I'm going to pull it up really fast so you can see it while I talk about it. Shows which is the index done in 2019 of the current conditions of Garland is classified as very poor. It's just extra information for you guys on the neighborhood. The zoning, and then B, the zoning and use of the property nearby. All adjacent properties are zoned R16 and uses are single family residential. The adjacent ones are. Letter C, the sustainability of the subject property for uses in which it has been restricted. The subject property was built in 1960. There have been improvements on the property in 1960, 1970, 1975, and 1980 was the last recent record of any improvements. The building is currently used as office space in a community center for senior citizens for the Council on Aging. And then letter D, the extent to which removal of the restrictions will detrimentally affect nearby property. properties. The proposed rezoning has potential to impact the surrounding properties by increasing vehicular and foot traffic flow in the area. The subject building has been used for office space and community center for senior citizens prior to the current owner. Letter E, the length of time the subject property has remained vacant as zoned. The existing building has not been vacated because Council of Aging is operating there. Council of Aging is still holding all their programs and events at this location. Letter F, the relative gain of economic development, public health, safety, and welfare by the reduction of value of landowners' property as compared to the hardship imposed by such reductions upon the individual owner. The proposed rezoning could have a potential positive effect on the public health, safety, and welfare by allowing the reuse of an existing building that is about to become vacant and by providing for a mix of residential, office, and commercial uses. Letter G, the recommendation of the permit or professional staff recommends approval of the rezoning request. Letter H, the conformance of the request change to adopt a recognized comprehensive land use plan being utilized by the city. The area is identified as a public/semi-public for the future land use. While the proposed zoning to RMX is not specifically a public or semi-public use, the designation of public and semi-public does not take into account the potential for a more intense use of the property than what currently exists. Ooh, tongue-tied. Therefore, staff finds the proposed use to be in conformance with the overall goals of the adopted comprehensive plan. Such other factors as may be relevant to the potential proposed amendment, the factors considered in taking action on any proposed amendment shall be included in the minutes or otherwise be made of the written record. There are no other factors. And then your options are recommend approval, recommend denial, or table the issue.
Thank you. Does any commissioner have any questions other than the information we've been provided? And the Council of Aging has already relocated and the building is vacant at this time, is that correct?
It's still occupied.
They're still
occupied
occupying
at
it
this time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know they're working on their space over in the Cushing building right now. I don't believe they've, completely moved over. I think they might have started moving over, but they're still primarily operating out here.
Okay, thank you.
It talks about the intended use of the property. Are we going all the way back to 1985 and trying to understand what the intended use of this property was for?
So the zoning has, as long as we've had zoning, has been the R16, and like Jackie said, they did have the special use permit that was issued in 1985 for a nursing home. I'm not sure, our records don't indicate when the nursing home stopped operating there and it switched over to the Council on Aging, just being the office use. Our records don't indicate when that switch took place. So technically it's a non-conforming use right now because the current use doesn't meet that special use permit for a convalescent nursing home. So it's one of those things that we've kind of got all over town where it's just an existing non-conforming use. And so those uses are allowed to continue unless they change. And so with the Council on Aging leaving, any use on this property would have to be in conformance with the zoning. And so in order to do anything other than single family residential on this property, there would need to be a different special use permit issued or a rezoning.
Thank you. For the people who are attending here, we will certainly give you an opportunity to come and speak of your concerns, and thank you for being here tonight. And when you come to the podium, we make sure that you please tell us your name, and so we can hear your concerns, any issues you might have. If you don't mind, I would like to start, since the owner or the agent is present. I don't want to mispronounce your name, Sir Badwin. Is that close? Okay, I feel good. Mr. Badwin, I'd like to start with you, sir, if you would come to the podium again, tell us your name, and brief us a little bit on your plans, and then we can ask you questions so that the people present can hear that, and we can ask you. When he sits down and goes back to his chair, some of you might have questions, direct them to us. If he sits back down, please don't direct them to him because he sat back down. Let us hear your concern, please, and if need be, we will direct it back to him. Oh, we clear on that one, please? Thank you, sir. Please. Thank you.
Everybody present, hello, this is Baljeet Badwan. I am the owner of this property, 1830 South Broadway. I purchased the property just about July of last year. And I know, like the staff has said, it is being vacated, and I'm trying to find the best use for the property. After considering, and actually having some conversation with the staff, I figured this would be the best use to be able to use the current property, that the actual structure that's on the property, and put it to best use without actually having to tear it down or do something very drastic. So I came up with the plan that would probably be trying to use whatever I can use as an office, because there's 20-some thousand square feet space in it today, and has been in use for I think since 2010 as COA. So it's going on 12 years. And I mean, even the aerial view shows, all those cars parked there. So, trying to stick to, like I said, trying to minimize the work I have to do. That is my plan. I'm an individual owner. I'm not a big corporation or anything. So I'm trying to just do what I can without having to tear it up, and then probably put it to the best use. And that is, based on what I can see today, it would be RMX, and use some of it as an office, and then convert the rest of it into multifamily units.
Sir, I understand that you live in the Overland Park area, is that correct?
Yes, I do.
Do you have other properties that you have converted, or anything similar to this, where you've taken a building and you convert it from
I've done
office space to
smaller.
apartments?
I have multifamily apartments in 2-3 different spots. I have one in Leavenworth itself, which I didn't convert, but
Okay.
so I own Ottawa, one in Ottawa. I have a building downtown that I'm working on, trying to, maybe do some minor remodel there, and then have properties outside of here.
Thank you. I like your comments on the best use of the property. Thank you, that was a good comment. Your plan is, though, to convert this, maybe, as I'm hearing this, from office space, there'll be some plans, and apartments, correct? A combination of those two, apartments and office space.
Yes.
Can you tell us roughly how many apartments you plan on converting that to?
It's, I actually met with one of the construction people. It's not firm on yet, but I mean, probably whatever the best, for the area is, right? If I can do a single bedroom apartment for 500 square feet, this will turn into maybe, 20,000, let's just assume average 600, 700 square feet per unit. It could be as many as
25, 30?
something like that, right?
Okay, I think that's important because the people here are very concerned how many people would be occupying
Right.
that if I was one of them. And also, I know that I'm aware of this building, so I don't see you don't see any conversion or need to change anything with parking, do you?
I mean, when I come to the city with my actual plans, I mean, they'll dictate how many parkings I need. So if I do 25, I mean, I'll probably have to have one parking per unit at least minimum. Without looking at it, I believe there's enough parking for this section of the building, which is, what is it? Is this north-south, or is it?
North.
Okay, I
Okay.
saw that.
So on the south side, I think there's enough parking, but the north side doesn't have enough parking. So I would definitely have to add some parking on the north side.
Okay, so you're prepared for that, and that might have to happen
Yes, of course.
with adequate parking.
Right.
People be concerned, people parking
No,
around their
no.
property, single places to park.
And as you can see, it's a huge property.
It's a huge property.
Adding another parking, however many it needs, is not gonna be a problem. And my intent is to make it right, probably do the apartments right. It's not like I'm gonna have people park on the street. That is not gonna happen. And I mean, I have enough space in the property to actually create an extra parking lot there.
One final question with that, I think the people here would be interested in is that, before they come up, acquiring the permit and proceeding with this, with our approval, the commissioners, what are your immediate plans for conversion? I understand the need of conversion and going into apartment complex, I'm aware of that, but anything else with the building, anything with landscape, anything with, to keep that professional, because they'd be very concerned about what's going in there and any effect to their land or what it looks like. What do
Right.
you plan on doing?
So the current plan, the very, very immediate plan is what
Okay.
it is, because the council leaves like in October,
Right.
roughly, let's say. So over the next 5 to 6 months, I'm just gonna use the north side and basically turn those into apartments, which is probably gonna be about 10 apartments. And then, add a small parking lot, on the, next to that building, that south, it would be, I guess, what is it, west, kind of west of that building, right there. And then wait for the council to vacate whenever they do, develop the south section of it.
Okay, thank you. Let me start. Sherry, any comments, questions you might have?
Thank you for your information, first of all. So you're thinking maybe your ETA to start would be in maybe January of 2023, once council moves out in October?
No, the north section is vacant. At that, I would probably want to start in summer sometime.
Okay, for the north side, I
Yes.
understand,
Yeah.
okay.
Right.
Really, you had a lot of questions that you asked that were some of the questions that I had. So really, that was my main concern, was when you were gonna start.
You good?
Thank you.
Commissioner Burks?
I don't have any additional questions of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill? Commissioner Wong?
No additional questions, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. If you can please step down, thank you.
Thank you.
We may be bringing you back, but for the time being, thank you, sir. We will now open it up to forum.
Make sure you open the public hearing.
I will open up a public hearing now. Thank you. Need to open a public hearing. Anyone who wants to speak can please stand up, take your turns, come to the podium. Please tell us your name. If you want to wear your mask, you can, but if not, I would appreciate if you don't mind, maybe lower it down a bit so we can clearly hear you. Thank you.
We also need an address.
Okay,
Good evening. My name is Betty Rogers Smith.
okay,
I was born and raised at 1801 South Broadway
Thank you.
on that corner.
got it.
I now live at 1708 Garland, directly across the lake. Our family and everybody has been here I'll be 82 on the 12th, and this is where I've been. I'm right across the street. And I find immediately so many changes. And I've been here at the City Hall 3 times concerning that property across the street. So whatever's said and whatever's done, I've been here a long time and I've experienced everything across the street. I've seen a lot. Council on Aging. My dad was at County Infirmary for several years in that same spot. So that's all I know. That's the history of this area for me.
Ma'am, you mentioned that you had concerns about that property. What are some of those concerns?
I have been here twice because the condition when the bushes from the weather grew where it was jet black. You could not see nothing. You couldn't see the water. You couldn't see anything. And you hesitated to go out the door. Then when the leaves and things fell, then you can see. But the algae in the water, it's never taken care of. And it's been that way for a long time and they haven't done anything about it, so.
Thank you, thank you.
I don't know if the person that has that property has the lake or not. Is that his property or someone else's property?
Yep, it's all one
Yeah.
lot.
Yep, one lot.
Yes.
One lot. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening. My name is Terryhundley. I live at 1816 Garland Avenue. The young couple at 1812, we share the alley When I bought the place, I thought it was a driveway, but it's an alley. I'd like to know, Garland Avenue has no drainage. Garland Avenue has no curb. What is the owner gonna do with Garland Avenue? When you come down to Pennsylvania, there's a house on the corner that has parking. They have two vehicles, and when you come to Pennsylvania and Garland Avenue, if there's a car turning, and Council on Aging uses that quite a bit, you have to wait till somebody turns or goes out. That street is not wide enough to put more traffic. When we bought the place at 1816, I already knew about Council on Aging. That's taking care of the old people. We had no problem with that. On Garland Avenue, there's only one family that's under 70 years old. The rest of us are 70, 82, 83, but I just like to know where all this traffic is going to involve. Right now, people they turn off Pennsylvania and go down Garland Avenue to Reese to go east on across Broadway or go south on Broadway. There's a lot of traffic that runs on Garland Avenue. On the construction, he's talking about building multiple dwelling places. Where's all this construction? Are they gonna break that road down on Garland Avenue or on Reese? Reese was just, I don't know, clear coated or something, a little part of it. Nothing happened to Garland Avenue, but that's beside the point. What's gonna happen to our streets? It's not the best street in the world, but what's gonna happen with all this construction equipment that's gonna go through there? I just like.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you'll give me just a minute, because when I'm hearing something going on, is that, before I ask Mr. Badwin to come back to you, I need to ask something, and that is the tenant, as he's requesting his rezoning and obtaining this permit and doing this, I'm hearing would have no effect to the issue that we're talking about of any curbs or drainage would not be a part of this. Is that correct? I'm looking at both of you. Is that true?
Right.
He would
There's-
not, he's taken over an existing building that's been there since 1950 with the improvements that we're hearing, and that therefore, if he gets this, it's not gonna be a requirement of him to change drainage and change curbs.
With the information that we have now, that's correct, and there's no plans to make any improvements to Garland at this time.
Okay, now, Mr. Badwin, I'd like you to come back, sir, if you don't mind, I need to, so he can respond. We're hearing stuff, if you come back up, please, podium. The concern was the drainage and the curbs, and we've already addressed that issue, so I don't really want to discuss that because it's a separate issue. It's a valid issue, I'm not ignoring the valid issue, but let's get to the issue of, you're talking with 20,000 square feet and about 25 to 30 tenants there, plus office space you mentioned, and that traffic there. We know we have adequate parking for one person per there. Some people might have two cars, so I understand that. But I don't know if you've done any impact if you acquire that property, any concerns you have on traffic or people coming in and out of that area. Is that any consideration you looked at?
Very high level. I mean, I think like I was just trying to explain, with the amount of traffic that the council has today,
Right.
it's unlikely it's gonna go up, because the way I'm seeing, I mean, even on aerial view, you can see 20 cars parked out there.
Right.
Cars going in and out, in and out. This is a lot more traffic than you're gonna see on a residential use kind of thing. When I say office, I'm not gonna put like a huge office. The reason we're calling it an office space is because it's, some of those, I guess, parts in the building are so huge. It's better to keep it as a community kind of thing. So if I have an office or something, I don't have to go get a change use for that. Ultimately, this area is not really truly an office area, but at the same time, since it's already been used as office, I kind of want to have that option there. It's just some small office, but ultimately, primarily, it's just going to be residential people.
Does any other commissioner have a question only on that issue we're discussing that I brought up? Does any commissioner have any problem other than what he's given us? We
I
good?
have a question, I mean, maybe you already kind of discussed this, but I'm reading under, A of the agenda items where it talks about the PCI, and that on Garland, the current conditions are very poor. And as the gentleman that was just up, Mr. Terry, I don't remember your last name, sir, I apologize. But I was following what you were saying about Garland and Reese, so if the conditions, and I'm just brainstorming here, are poor with the PCI on Garland, and then you're going to add additional traffic to that, what's your concern about that?
I have no clue how the city does their city streets. I'm hoping it's part of your ongoing things to fix a certain street and then go on to the next kind of thing. If the map shows it's poor today, I'm hoping it's on, plan for, resurfacing at some point. But at the same time, I think going back to what I just said a minute ago, council has enough traffic, expecting traffic not to go up from there. And since the lot is actually four-way lot, it's 4 streets on the lot, not every traffic is gonna exit on Garland. What is that street on the south here? Is that Reese? Yeah, so if you think when the council leaves, a lot of the traffic is gonna leave on Reese. Only small amount of traffic from the top 10 units is gonna leave on Garland.
Reese is also classified as very poor, just.
Correct.
In addition, just to make a note of that. My other question is, if this doesn't get approved, what are your plans? What's plan B?
That's,
Yeah, we don't, yeah.
what would you project, what would you see if nothing happened?
Yeah.
And what would happen to this building, this property? And again, it's a little bit hypothetical, but.
Yeah, I don't know what else I can do here.
And I would ask the community the same question.
Exactly. You don't want to see this. Okay, so when I got the building, there were talks about tearing it up.
Right.
You don't want to do that. It's just basically, like I said, I started with, I'm all for protecting, traffic in a pristine neighborhood, but it's a 10-acre lot. And even if somebody were to do with a single-family high density, I don't know what that number ends up being. But either way, change is inevitable, and I'm trying to do my best to keep it in the character of the neighborhood, at the same time putting the building to the best possible use.
I'd like to make a comment on the magic words of the greater good. You brought that issue up when you mentioned the best use of the property. You mentioned that comment. I appreciate that. Also, what's the greater good, but also of the people who live around there and their sensitivity to that. Correct. But also, in my opinion, as a commissioner, there'd be nothing worse than a vacant building. And so I'm very concerned because tax revenue, city needs it, but beyond the tax revenue, I want to say the people are here, nothing worse than a vacant building, what can occur to us. We all know that would be a terrible thing to deal with if that occurred, so best use of property, I appreciate that. If you'll sit down, did any other commissioner have a question, Maureen? If you'll step back down, sir, may need you, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
Good evening. My name's Suzanne Morris. I live at 1708 South Broadway. So the back of my house butts up to the pond. I have 2 concerns. Question, and I want to say this politically correct. I'd like to know if there are going to be that many apartments in that building, what is the quality of the applicants that are going to be in that building? Because I've heard that it was going to be lower income housing apartments. That's my first concern. My second one is the pond. So if he's going to be putting a parking lot, I've talked to city people before in the past, if they drain that pond, the only way they can drain that is basically right next to my house, which would be not good in my house. Those are my 2 concerns. Because when you put all those people in there, it's gonna have to be something to do with that water issue right there. Those are my 2 concerns.
Thank you, thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Badwin, I need you back.
Your exercise.
Yeah, I understand because we could wait, if I wait, everybody voices their concerns and bring it back. I don't wanna miss everyone's comment they're telling us.
I'll just
So
go
the-
before we have Mr. Badwin answer. Income level of multifamily housing is not applicable to a specific use, and so that's not something that we can really consider when taking a look at a rezoning request is an income level of applicants for a potential multifamily use, just to kind of put that out there.
Thank you, I'm glad you mentioned it to us. But without address, I heard her concern, it's a valid issue, but you have an idea for profitability on going to 25 to 30 apartments and office space with the square footage you mentioned to me of 500 to 600 square feet, if that's either probably one bedroom, whatever apartments, you probably have a price range that you're thinking of. I won't hold you, a price range you're thinking of that each person would probably have to pay. What would that look like? Give me a number what that would probably be.
Again, I'll have to do a market study. I just don't wanna blurt a number out of my head here. It's just gonna be whatever the market rents are. It won't be, I'm not trying to put anybody with a $200 income in there.
Right.
My plan is gonna be whatever the market rent will sustain.
Okay. Whatever the market value for a nice rehab, one bedroom, most would be one bedroom apartments in there,
Exactly.
correct?
Yep.
Okay, so that, and again, because we heard the issue, we can't deal with the issue of money, of the value of people moving in there, what it looks like. The issue that she raised was the pond. We're aware of the pond, we're aware of the comment on the algae. You buy that, you own the pond.
I do, and I hope city will tell me, can I just tear up the pond and fill it up? I mean, I don't know. What is the real reason the pond is there? I have no history on it. I mean, I like the pond as it is, but even if it needs to be cleaned, I mean, I guess that's fine. I'm just gonna have to see what the options are around the pond. If it's just a drainage for the city, or I have no history on that.
In my opinion, that pond has been a great relief for people to go out and sit on a bench and get some fresh air and
Exactly,
fish on it and
I know,
enjoy that.
if it's,
So
I'm
at this
maintaining
time-
it, I guess I wanna use, to best advantage to the property itself.
But this time you have no reason to change.
No.
Fill up that pond.
No.
And your
It's-
plan is to take care of the pond.
It's cost me money to probably fill it up, I'm sure, yeah. so I
Because they're
wouldn't do
saying
it.
algae in the pond, we're aware of that, algae and stuff there. You would take care of the pond, it's your
Of
your
course,
pond.
yes, yeah, if I'm putting 10, 20 people there, it's market value improvement
Sure.
for them to be able to walk on the, property and go there, kind of thing.
Any commissioners on that issue, on the pond or the tenants on that one?
So it adds an aesthetic value, so you wanna keep it because of
Yes.
that. And then, I believe Miss Betty had talked about the bushes, so, you'll work
And,
that in
and
with
she
the
can probably
algae.
talk to the fact that since I got the building, I've done a better job on the trees and stuff, since July.
And you've only owned the building for a.
6 months, 7 months, whatever.
Exactly, and we're talking a long history of that
Correct.
property, so, thank you.
Anyone else on that? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, stick around, there you go, thank you. Please, next, please.
Hi, my name's Ron Norman. I live at 1829 South Broadway, right across the street. One of the reasons we moved to this neighborhood was because of the large area over there across the street from us. It's worked out very good for us and our grandkids to play over there, fly kites, things like that. So it's been a very, very positive thing for the neighborhood as far as I'm concerned. Concerns I have now deal with, I don't know how far just the rezoning goes. But I've been a real estate agent here for 30 years. And I've been in that building a couple of years ago. I had two clients wanted to buy it when I looked at it, went through it. And that north end of that building was in horrendous shape. I don't know how far we gotta go. I mean, this has nothing to do with that, I don't think, just the rezoning does. Doesn't have anything to do with the construction, right?
Correct.
Okay. I'm concerned farther on down the road then, maybe, in reference to the asbestos, to the pipes that are missing, ceilings that are falling in, things like that. And I know that's a lot of construction work. I'm just concerned about the quality of the construction work and the type. In reference to Garland and Reese Streets, they're both highly traveled right now. I respectfully disagree with the owner in reference to the amount of traffic that's gonna be there. We've already seen an increase in traffic on Broadway. I mean, just because the council aging a number of cars that are there. But I can see Garland, if you ever driven up on Garland, you gotta go try it sometime. It is pretty bad up there. And Reese coming up the hill is not very good either. So those are concerns I have as far as with the building getting fixed, but the access the traffic has.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay, before I get Mr. Rombach back, the issue I want to, Julian, please, I know you correct me if I say this incorrectly, but any improvements to that with office space or apartment stuff he's doing would require work permits. We would have inspections, city inspection, to make sure it meets applicable codes. Did I say that
Yes.
correct?
Any work done to the
Any
building would
work
need
done, and that
building
would have to
permits.
meet applicable current codes.
Yes.
Asbestos is another issue, a 1950 building from city, look at that. Asbestos, you don't mess with it, you encapsulate it, you remove it or something, we'll deal with that issue. But so I want to address this issue of quality of work because it would have to meet current applicable codes on
Yeah,
that.
the city operates under the 2018
Right.
International Building Code
Right.
right now, and so any work done would have to obtain permits and be done according to that with inspection.
So I want to address that issue. Mr. Walbon, I need you back on speaker again. Okay, sir. The question came up because a lot of us are aware of your comments, being an apartment complex, and I get this office space. But since we have maybe 25 to 30 apartments there, and I know most of them probably be so small they may not even have children. It's possible, but whatever. But it's still an apartment complex. Have you envisioned with an apartment complex that if people want to go out and have kind of a recreation area or do something that is incorporated in your future plans?
Yes, I mean, I guess we just talked about the pond, so my plan is to keep it there.
Okay.
Get it nice and clean, people walk there, and that is basically kind of gonna be the central portion of where people will hang out. I don't know what else I can say about
Well, thank you for that, because historically, I've known a lot of people who've been there, worked there, and a lot of people in that pond historically has been, again, in my opinion, from fishing there to when it's been kept up nice, I think it's environmental plus to have property and have a pond like that with it, okay? Any other commissioners on the issue? We had this record, the issue was, with stuff around there that we dealt with, or this quality work, I think we've dealt with that issue. The issue was this playground area, anything around there. Any other commissioners have a question on that issue, please?
No.
Okay, thank you. Next person, please.
Good evening. Judy Johnson, 1816 Garland Avenue. I'm hearing all of this and everybody's been talking. Is it my understanding that the building will become no bigger, no higher, no wider? It's going to stay just the way that it is? It's not going to grow and him move more apartments out or higher up? Do you understand what I'm talking about?
I do, and we wouldn't be able to answer that.
I'm making notes as you
Okay.
talk to me of your
Okay.
concern, and I assure you, we will address the issue.
Okay.
So I'm hearing the issue, but is there any other issues you have because you're challenging what it is today and what it may be in the future? It's hard, we can deal with that issue, but is there any other issues you have besides your concern about growth and change of the building? Is that the issue?
Growth and change of the building, not necessarily that, but the parking
Okay.
would be a huge thing. I'm sorry. I don't think he's been around the area long enough to know what the traffic is. We live directly across from where all the drivers park their cars. Okay? So we know, there's not a lot of traffic. They come in, they park their car, they take their van out or their car out 1 or 2 times a day, and that's it. They don't constantly go in and out, in and out, in and out. I just don't think he understands how much traffic would be coming to our streets, whether it be Broadway or Reese or Garland or even Pennsylvania. It will increase the traffic. When you have 25 to 30 residents who have cars, you're going to have a lot more traffic. And I don't think he understands the impact of what it's going to do to our streets.
Thank you.
That's my
Thank you.
concerns.
Thank you. Ms. Walbaum. Oh, I need you back.
You're getting your steps in.
The issue is, since you made us aware that you live in Overland Park and you've got other properties that you've had for quite a few years, how long have you been in this business, roughly? I'm just trying to,
10, 15 years.
thank you, sir. In the properties that you have bought in the last 10 to 15 years, where you've acquired property, have you renovation is a different issue. The issue is size. You have an existing building that's out there with that. Is there any,
So, yes.
we
I'll give you an
cannot hold you
example.
to this. We cannot hold you to this. But is there any plan that you have in the near future to change the size of that building, to expand it or change it?
No, I mean, I was sort of saying, I'm gonna stick to the same one level, I'm
Right.
not adding to that. So basically, to the last person's, comment, again, going back to the picture, it's so easy to depict what's going on today. You have all those cars parked right in front of her house, going in and out. Situation is actually probably improved because my traffic is not gonna be concentrated in that one area. It's gonna be spread out. When you think of an apartment complex, everybody wants to park next to their apartment. And if you look at the south parking lot there, or east parking lot, a lot of the parking is gonna be on that one. And then the additional parking lot that's gonna be created on the west side of the building is gonna be parking there. So it's just gonna be people would park close to their own homes, basically.
What
So
I'm
it'll be spread
hearing
out.
is that you're going to renovate, you're gonna, my 25 to 30 apartment plans that you're gonna have on there, 600 square feet. The building stays the same. In the future, you have no plans to renovate that and expand it in size whatsoever. We've talked about the issue of parking, so I think that sometimes the commissioners hear some things, we're sensitive to your issue of parking, but we also have dealt with the issue of parking, and I don't think we can add any more comments, in my opinion, commissioners, on the issue of parking at this time. So, thank you again, thank you.
I will just say, even if Mr. Badwin has no intent of
Right.
expanding the building or building additional buildings, if this property is rezoned to RMX, that would allow for the potential for that to happen after
Yeah.
it's rezoned, whether Mr. Badwin does it or he
Right.
sells it at some point down the road and somebody else does it. That would leave the potential for additional buildings on the property, for the existing building to be expanded, for the property to be replatted and subdivided into additional lots. So RMX really allows for a mix of uses, residential, office, commercial, that are intended to be appropriate for neighborhood settings. But so that, just wanna put that out there, that even if Mr. Badwin has no intent to do that, the potential would be there with the rezoning of the property.
With approval from us and a recommendation of us to the commissioners, and that what we're doing today, if he expanded that building and changed that, expanded, would it require them to come back for a different approval for it if he expanded it?
No, once it is zoned to RMX, whoever owned the property would just
Right.
have to meet the requirements of that zoning district, and then that would just be a staff level approval.
Got it.
That would come through, staff review, and then need to get building permits to move on. Unless it were to be subdivided at some point in the future, then they would need to do a plat, and that would come before this board.
To look at impact in the future if they changed.
Yeah, and that would just be a plat just to divide it up, potentially if that were to happen. But with RMX, you can have multiple buildings on
Yes.
one lot, so that does allow for, kind of a good mix of things to happen with the property.
Okay, but I'm here, we can't, nor can we hold him any promise for life, he will never expand that building. Let's be honest here, but we're hearing what he's telling us today and what his plans are in the future. That's all we can deal with is what we know and he's telling us today. Is it, next person, please, with the concern.
I'm gonna throw in a
Please,
quick comment.
please.
So when he does start the renovations and the parking, that will also go through staff review and that will include engineering for drainage, for traffic impact. All that will be reviewed once we figure out and it's proposed where the parking's gonna be. And we will have our staff review that. I know that's a concern, so that will include the review of the impacts of the streets as well with engineering.
What I'm hearing there, and please correct me if I say that again, is that, because I heard that comment made by some of the people, is if going to an apartment complex and office space there has impact with drainage, or has impact whatever, the city will have to look at that and look at any upgrades or changes, the city would have to look at that, not him at this time. Did I say that
To the
correctly?
streets.
Huh?
Yes, you mean to the
To include the
streets?
streets
Yes.
and curbs or anything else, with the impact of that change.
Correct.
We agree on, thank you. Next person, please. Go on.
Hi, my name is Kathy Price. I live at 1825 South Broadway. And so my house is directly in front of the building. And I think you've kind of addressed a little bit of my concern. But what I wonder, since the plan seems so vague right now, how do you make your determination on approving the zoning? And as you were saying, if once it's zoned for multiple use, the plan could change and maybe be a higher structure or more multiple units. And I think that's, a real concern for anybody in the neighborhood. But also a concern with upkeep of the property. Since I live right across, I get a pretty good view. And in the summer, even since July, the grass is not upkept very well. It's let to where it's really tall, and then they mow it, and it looks like a hayfield. It's not very good. And I've lived there for over 20 years, and when it was a nursing home, there were constant sewer problems. So is that a city problem? Is that a property owner problem? That's a concern for me too. But mainly, I was just, and also I was wondering about the person that owns this, if they have an interest in our community. Now, maybe so, since he owns other properties, but how large are those properties as far as whether it be here or in other areas? Are they large complexes or small? And I think we've kind of addressed that we really can't ask about the target market. Is it seniors? Whatever, I don't know. That's my
Thank you.
concern.
I'm hearing four things on that one. I'll wait for the commissioner to jump in and stand by. First one, she alluded to a comment that related to this commission, our role as a planning commission, who reviews things and approves them, disapproves them, or tables them for further action. This is the purpose of this committee, to look at everything presented to us, and we vote on that. Then after that, it goes to the city commissioners for approval. There's also a process in there so people could challenge that if it disapproved. There's a challenge process in there. So I want to address that first issue, us to assess the greater good. I want to go back to my words, greater good, the total situation of impact to that. Impact to property, lawn care. I'll come back to that one in a minute because I'll bring you back up so we can hear his comment on that, because I live in a location that's maintenance provided for cutting grass and snow removal, but we still have properties with that. We have problems with that a little bit. But the issue, we'll address that issue, his plans for lawn care. If he plans on doing it himself, if he's going to contract it out, which I hope would be locally, we can't hold him to that. It could be Epic in Kansas City, for example. So his issue with lawn care, to have it look nice, to be in harmony with your neighborhood and the property, I'm just hearing. Sewage concern is another issue to me, because put in 25 apartments and plumbing and that, we can address that issue carefully. That's a valid issue. But again, pipes, size of pipes, water and stuff, we'll hear his concern on that, because we're adding 25 apartments there, but I'm not certain what I know would be the water flow and sewerage with the existing council on aging, by the way, and officers there, so I'm not quite certain on that one. Impact to our community interest, he's in Overland Park. I assure you, some people may be in California, people in this property. So I started with the issue, where does he live? And I asked that question because he's close by. We can't hold anyone to that and say, you need to live here because if you live here close by, you'll take a more vested interest in that. We can't hold him to that, but it makes me feel better when I asked that question, he told me he lives in Overland Park, and he's 35 miles from here, and he's got other properties, so I feel that is a positive in my opinion, not a negative, that he's close by, and there's a problem close by, he can be here in less than 1 hour. Mr. Wambon, if you'll go back up to the podium again, sir, because the issue comes back, impact the property, because we have tenants who have cut their yard, they don't like brown yard, they don't like trees dying and bad stuff happening, so when you take over this building, is it your intent with your people to keep maintaining good standards of lawn care, whatever, or you plan on contracting it out?
Yes, sir, I have all intent to keep it looking good. I got called once by the council saying, hey, the grass is grown. My guy didn't show up one time. Maybe that is when the last person mentioned. With any property, they're gonna have times when, something just doesn't get done when it's supposed to be. But yeah, I have a person that's maintaining the lawn on a regular basis. And then I want to know about the whole sewage problem. If you think about it, since the building is staying what it is, it shouldn't change. If there was a problem on the building, that would have been my problem. If it's on the city side, of course, yeah, that would be city's problem.
With 28, 25, 30 apartment complex, office space, whatever, and the size of your operation, what that would generate, is it your intent to have a property manager here on site?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Commissioners, any question besides with the issues we're addressing in the last one with Kathy on the impact, local impact, property or sewage issue, another issue or interest of our community? Any commissioners have a question to ask of them? No. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Sit down. Oh, you had one?
No, I said, no, you were very thorough. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on that. We do ask, we're glad to hear every one of you talk. All we ask is that if we've addressed your issue, we hope that you will factor that in. If there's something you want to bring us up that we've addressed that's repetitive, I'm going to try to remember exactly what I told you the first time. So, but we hope that if you come up to put in, which we welcome, it is something new that we can address. Thank you. Next person, anyone?
Can I say something again?
Please, yes, sir, absolutely.
Once again, Terryhundley, 1816 Garland Avenue. When the Davises had this piece of property, they locked that pond up. They did it for insurance purposes so nobody would drown or anything like that. Does he understand what the insurance is gonna cost on having that pond on his property?
Thank you, sir. Need you back up, Swallow, I need you back up. I want to address that issue first, though, for all the people I know who have above-ground ponds, above-ground pools, swim pools, and 10 other things, to hold people from liability and personal interest and not sue and be sued and lose a lawsuit. So I think there has to be a degree of common sense involved with this, what I'm hearing. So if he has a pond that's been there an awful long time, and I'm not certain of the history of this building, did they have an insurance policy, how they handled that, in my opinion, with that pond, because it is, anything is a liability. Any children could wade into that. Any adult with Alzheimer's dementia could wade into that pool and drown. So I'm hearing the issue. Concern, it's been there a long time, that pond. I've lived in this town over 40-some years, and so I'm aware of the issue. The issue is, though, when you have this and you have a pond in your property, what is your plan there to your insurance coverage or to make sure that you protect that pond?
Currently, my insurance covers. They haven't really said anything about the pond being a problem. It is locked, and I plan to keep it locked until the point when I have people living in the building. Of course, when I go to develop it, for apartments, I'm sure the insurance company will probably put some more limits on it or ask me more money or what, I don't know. So I'll just have to evaluate it at that point.
I'm hearing that, and also want to address the issues since I've lived in this town since 1970s, an awful long time in Leavenworth, and know this town very well, is to know that pond very well, and that area very well, is that when we have people, council and agents, people living there that have Alzheimer's, dementia, and children, everything else I know have come and gone to that place, I'm not aware that anyone over the years has said, let's enclose it with a fence and let's secure it, but maybe they should have. I'm hearing the comment that anyone could have adult or a child could have waded in that pond, and is it a liability? Oh, well, of course it is. But it hasn't been done in the past with the nature of clients who were staying, who lived there, correct? So I'm just wanna make that point to you. It could have been done earlier. And I'm not aware, maybe you have lived a long time, if there's ever been someone who drowned in that pond or an issue there. I'm not aware of that.
I don't think it happened. I just wanted to ask that question,
Yeah,
because that's the reason why the Davises locked it up.
I agree. I understand the question. I do that. Okay, thank you, sir. If you'll step down, thank you. Come back up again. You have to come back up. You got to go, please.
Well, this is again about the pond. My concern, and this is, I don't remember, I think not the Council on Aging, but when it was a nursing home and it was left open, my problem with it was at night, the partying. People would go there and party. And, I would have an objection to that.
Thank you, but I would like to, since I heard a comment earlier, I'd like to repeat the comment that I heard, Mr. Ramon, and that is his intent with this building with 25, 30 apartment complex and office space is to have an on-site manager and to monitor that. So I would like to think, it's kind of like Condotel, one of my friends manages that, Condotel. I'm hearing what you're saying, but all we could do is say that, especially a valid concern of you who lived around their parties and people take advantage of that. I'm not aware of that. I'm sure it's happened. But I think it's great that he would have probably more visibility and more on-site, in my opinion, could be all wrong, with an on-site manager and people monitoring properly that if there's damage in there, I think he has a vested interest to take care of that if something bad's happened, in my opinion.
Right.
I gotta say it that way to you, okay?
But is it a resident on-site manager that lives in the property or in an apartment and manages it?
I'll have to bring him back up, because I don't wanna speak for him. Go, you can answer that there.
Yes, I have a resident manager.
It'll be a resident manager, correct? Thank you.
It's just, I manage a property in St. Joe and here. That's been working better is once you have a resident manager, they don't call neighbors up night because the resident manager handles it.
It's another issue I haven't heard from. Is that resident person possible that he could live on site in one of the apartments?
Oh, yeah,
Thank you.
that's exactly how
Well,
it's
I even feel better about that, to let them know that, because we didn't heard that, we had not heard that one, that your intent was a resident manager, the manager of that complex is to be on site. Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Come on back up.
The house on the corner of Broadway, of Garland in Pennsylvania. As long as I've been in that house, there was a family living there. Whatever took place, whether it was drugs or whatever, they came into that property, you can ask my next neighbor, 24 hours a day, slamming doors, everything. And my neighbor, he would always have to call the police. They literally tore that house apart, and not one police, not one person came to take care of that on that corner. They had to rebuild that entire house. And now it's livable, but it took for them to tear it down to even do that. They don't take any interest in our area. That's what they're out there for. I see them do drugs every day. Nobody says nothing, no one does anything. So I make sure I lock my doors and do all of it. Is not a safe property, because I've lived there for 40 years in that house. And that has been going on ever since then. So I don't know what it will take, what the city needs to do, but they got to pay a little more attention of what's going on. You can't call the police every minute. I check out a whole bunch of stuff over, just like she was saying.
Before you step down, though, I want to say to you that Chief Kitchens is a good friend of mine. All of us know, a lot of you might know Chief Kitchens. You've lived here a long time. And that this is a police issue. This is a reporting issue. Mr. Walmart, if he has a resident manager there and there's stuff going on next to his property that could impact him with drugs, whatever, it needs to be reported. It needs to be to the police. I'm hearing what you're saying, but we can't, this is an issue that is separate from what we're looking at tonight with
Okay.
his property, ma'am. It is
sorry.
not something that I'm gonna factor in, and I don't know about the commissioners, I don't wanna speak for them. But
sorry.
it's a separate issue
Okay.
on crime and a potential drug house and stuff next to the area.
Okay.
It's not an
Do
issue to
you,
us.
okay,
But I'm concerned with what you're saying. I'm not, we're all concerned with what you're saying.
but
It's just
where,
a police
where
issue.
should we go? To the police?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I've done that too, so.
Well, keep doing it.
I'm just talking.
Please call Chief Pat Kitchens, make him aware of your concern, that you feel people have not responded to that and reported it and done anything appropriate. I had a person that was so concerned with the issue many years ago. I'm gonna tell you something, but I don't recommend you do this. There's a person in this town that thought there was a drug house next to him and the police weren't doing anything. He had a great big sign put in his front yard, drug house next door.
Yeah.
I don't recommend you do that, but I want you to report that to
I
Chief
didn't hear
Kitchens,
that.
what
I
you just told us.
Be
Thank you.
careful. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Don't put that sign out. And you'd say, I told you that. It's not what I told you. Anyone else before we close this public hearing? Because once we close, it's closed. There'll be no more discussion from you because you have voiced your concerns. We have heard them. We're sympathetic to property owners, greater good, a vacant building. Got it? That's where we're at on this situation. No one else? Going once, twice, three times. I'm closing the public forum that we have for you. So that sector is now closed. Commissioners, we will now revert back to us with anything we have discussion with ourselves that they can hear, or any questions we have from Julie and her Michelle and the committee there. Let me start with you, Sherry, with your thoughts on this, please.
I do have a bit of a concern in regards to what may happen in the future once we change the zoning on this. But, we can't control the future, and, lots of different things can happen to the community. So, that is one thing that I am concerned about. I am concerned about the traffic as well, and the sewer issue. So those are my concerns right now. And I'm not sure, if I really need to table it for further, information, because I don't think anything else is going to change my mind in regards to that.
Thank you.
So, those are my few thoughts, right?
I'll just kind of add as part of your discussion, with this being zoned R16, that's high density, single family residential. So again, the only thing that this property could be used for once it's vacated by the Council on Aging would be single family. So this property could be replatted into a single family subdivision with lots the same size as what's surrounding, and you're potentially looking at more than the 25 or 30 lots that could fit on this 10-acre roughly lot were to be replatted. Quarter-acre lots, you're looking at upwards of 40 lots on this property, and those are larger lots than what are around there right now. So
That's a good thought process to look
Yeah.
at. There's just so many
Yeah,
different
there's-
scenarios
yeah.
that could happen.
yeah, and that wouldn't require rezoning
Right.
or any sort of public hearing to replat it into single family. An owner could just come in and replat it into a bunch of single family lots.
So those were just the three items that just kept pinging in my brain through the evening, when I'm making my decision.
You good?
So, I'm good though.
Commissioner Burks, please.
So, thank you, and that's exactly what I was going with and writing down. You could fit 25 to 30 within that same property, and that can happen as soon as this is rezoned. We can't work off an assumption. We can't, and while I care about our community and truly wanted to hear and enjoyed hearing what you had, there are concerns, we can't work off assumptions for those. What ifs, can't do that. I've never met an investor who didn't want a profit, so I can't believe in my heart at all that an investor would step into this with any thought of anything less than profit. Again, we talked about single family homes. This is a rezone question to us only, and we will make a recommendation. And I want the community to be clear of that too. We simply make a recommendation to the city commission on this, and it's for rezone only. Many of you spoke about lots of things, ponds, grass, hay, what ifs, and we only have a responsibility to talk about rezoning. So thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Our question is very narrow, and I know you have a lot of concerns, and I understand and appreciate them very much, but as you pointed out, we can't make decisions based on assumptions. I think the development of this particular property is gonna be a challenge going forward, regardless of how it's zoned, and that has to be dealt with through the mechanisms the city already has in place.
One more.
Oh,
is
no, you
if-
can't, we can't go back. Yeah, go,
If
please.
nothing happens, I fear a negative impact on our community. Just a vacant building of that nature. Talk about crime, talk about drugs. I can sense that. Anyway.
And I share that same concern.
That's all I
That's
have
all
to
I
say.
have.
Thank you.
My comments on that, just as one of the commissioners, regardless of me being chairman, is the fact that, first of all, I'd like to thank you for coming. Thank you for being passionate about your property. We're concerned with your property value, the storage, the gutter, and you brought up so many valid issues, incredible, that I hope we addressed them, each one of them, and you heard the person who's owner of this, his intent, and what he plans on doing with this, which makes me feel good on that one. So that's a big thing to me. I'm also factoring that if I lived around that area, I don't want to see a drug home, which was addressed by a person who's lived here a long time. And I don't want to see a vacant property where people go party and you're upset. I don't want to see it, in my opinion, I don't want to see that become a place where drugs or people go. And I don't want to see that. I work at homeless shelters in town. I'm very proud of that. I don't want that to be a place that people say, this is a vacant building, let's go live there with homeless shelters. So I'm just making you aware of my comments only as a commissioner, is that impact is what we're talking about and the greater good on this situation. And as mentioned by the other commissioners, our job is to only look at the rezoning request from whatever we decided with, we vote on this, and then it goes to the commissioners for their approval. They can then deny, and you can certainly have the right to be heard by the commissioners of your concern on this property, okay? With that, does any other commissioner have any question before I ask for this commission, planning commission, has three things we do. We vote for something, we vote against it, and we can table it for further information. And I have no problem with any of those as recommended by the commissioners. In my opinion, I think, Sherry, you brought up the issue. I think the turnout we had tonight says a lot. I think the questions that you brought up say a lot. I think that we're holding in good faith the owner and the property person who's doing this in good faith. And I don't know, in my opinion, if I table it and have me bring it back and you come back, what's gonna change with me? I don't know if anything's gonna change me, because I think we put everything on the table tonight that you brought up to us. So, but again, three options: approve it, disapprove it, or table for further action. I will then take a motion from a commissioner on your choice, please, with a vote. I'll ask for a motion. As stated this, this is strictly a motion to conduct this public hearing on this to the applicants to change this as 1830 South Broadway from R16 the high-density, single-family resident district to RMX.
I'll move a motion to recommend approval of rezoning from R16 to RMX to the city commission.
I'll need a second on that.
I'll second it.
Second. Any discussion before we vote? Further discussion? Take a vote. I'd like it, because of the impact of this, I'd like each commissioner to please state your name and your vote, please. Sherry.
Sherry Hanson Whitson, aye.
Aye. Okay, Bill, please.
Bill Waugh, aye.
Joseph Burks, aye.
Claude Weedauer, aye. So this has approved, we have approved this on a request, and again, it goes to the city commissioners for them to make decisions.
Yeah, so this will go to the city commission on March 22nd, and tomorrow does begin the 14-day protest period prior to that 22nd meeting with the city commission.
Thank you. This planning commission is officially closed. Again, I'd like to thank you for all who came tonight. Thank you. Thanks, guys.